Hooray, everybody! Welcome. This is the smoke break. I'm your host, Joe Johnson, owner of PurplePTSD.com, VikingsTerritory.com, and PurpleTerritoryRadio.com. What a game! What a start to the season. I also am aware that on some platforms there's kind of like a weird side. Ooh, look at that! It's weird. Uh, looking back in time, yeah, Joeception, meta. Um, that there's like a side portrait thing. I'm fixing that. If you, some of you may have noticed, I had to do like 50 test shows during the game because we were having technical issues, which is the story of my life. You may have heard my girlfriend in the background. I actually built her out of old parts of toasters, and everything's great. But there's been some issues. Anyway, okay, so what a game. During the pregame show, I said I was cautiously optimistic. Zimmer has a pretty great track record against the Falcons in his tenure here. There's always the concern that, the adage where you don't want to play a team you beat in the regular season during the postseason because they may have figured out your tricks or whatever. Clearly, what Zimmer's doing is something that, something that Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and the powers that be in Atlanta can't figure out. To the point that Julio Jones got so frustrated he got in a fight with a fourth-string cornerback. And also, they had Matt Ryan's backup warming up and or playing. My DirecTV conked out in the last couple of minutes, so I missed some of that. But I picked up a lot of it from the live chat, so I'm a credible source for reaction, I guess. But anyway, as you guys admire my amazing background, I should maybe angle it that way with the Minneapolis Miracle. Lots of thoughts on the game. After my show, tune into About the Labor also with Kirby O'Connor and Sean Borman. And before I get into the game a little bit, I wanted actually to introduce my girlfriend because she wasn't around last season for the smoke break. And full disclosure, she has been a Packers fan for most of her, if not all of her life. And as you can see, there she is.
Please send help. I'm actually a hostage.
I told you there was one thing you couldn't say. Also, you might hear some weird cat nonsense. I just got a new kitten. Okay. I care not for kittens. I care for football. The start of the game was amazing. My concern was, I think, cautious optimism / concern was stemmed from that third preseason game, namely in how Cousins looked. He looked a second off or 2 seconds off. There's just a lot of disconnect there. You want to think that they were really trying to implement some new stuff, the new wrinkles of the Kubiak offense, and maybe that's why he was processing instead of playing a little bit. But that clearly wasn't an issue today. I mean, when the game conked out, he was 8 of 10 for 98 yards. Let's see how the game ended. 8 of 10, 90 yards and a touchdown. If you would have told me that he had 10 attempts under 100 yards and a touchdown, I would have thought that the game maybe was a nightmare, or he got injured, or he got pulled. This team's success with the way that they play the game or try to and or last season wanted to with the defense, the run game, time of possession, field position, that's something that outside of the fantasy owners of Cousins, whoever they may be, maybe like a deep dynasty league with 2 or 3 quarterback slots, might have seen bad, but it just everything went their way, especially early. The defensive player of the week for sure is in the NFL. It's going to be Harris. He had 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery. There was a lot of debate whether they should play Harris or Curse from the fan base and writers. Clearly, Harris had a statement about that today. But you start out with a punt block, convert that to a touchdown after overcoming a holding penalty from Kyle Rudolph. Then you have an interception, another touchdown. That just kills any momentum, especially with the game being at US Bank Stadium, with the crowd being as loud as they were. It just put the Falcons in a hole that they couldn't get out of, and they were going to struggle regardless because of the Zimmer Rhodes connection. Thoughts on Rhodes in a second, but I mean, the biggest takeaway outside of Cousins' efficiency to start is also the offensive line. They looked great. It's extremely exciting. I can't overstate how important or exciting that is. I gave a lot of credit to Kubiak and Rick Dennison. There were a few flags for holding or blocks in the back. That's going to happen with the way that they run that zone blocking scheme. Hopefully they can clean that up a little bit. But, man, I didn't expect to see the line look that good this early. They have a lot of youth. They have a lot of changes. Brian O'Neill didn't play in the preseason very much thanks to injury. And they just looked great. Klein looked great. They were opening up huge holes, and that's not to diminish how great both Madison and especially Dalvin Cook looked. I mean, they both had over Cook was over 5 yards to carry. Alexander Madison was 5.4. Cook was 5.3. Amir Abdullah had 2 runs for 8 yards for 4. Cook ended up with 21 carries for 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's just incredibly exciting. And Zimmer has to be happy outside of the shot of him raging because of those defensive first down neutral zone infractions or offsides. But that's exactly what he wanted last season. But I don't want to defend John DeFilippo, but they just didn't have the line to do that either. I mean, if I was DeFilippo, I would listen to my boss and just do it anyway. He kind of did that, but it almost seemed sarcastic towards the end. There's the side question as to why Zimmer couldn't just make him do it. He's the head coach, but that's a different topic for a different day. So the run game looked great. The line looked great. I do also want to say that Cousins seemed to have a lot more pocket presence than he has in his career. He was rolling out, he was escaping, he was getting rid of the ball before he was sacked a few times. There was the fumble that wasn't. So I applaud his pocket presence and not forcing passes, getting rid of the ball. Granted, he had an 80% completion rate on this game, so he didn't throw it away too much, but the 2 times that he did were potential sacks or a fumble. So that's really exciting as well. Thielen did his, got about 10.3 fantasy points. Diggs did his thing. Not a whole lot of yards to go around, but they did what they had to do. Just in terms of how the defense set them up for success, you didn't have to see a lot of wrinkles. You didn't see a lot of 2 tight end stuff, really. I mean, in the way that we thought we might. I predicted before the game that Cousins might get the ball to 8 different receivers. He had 8 passes, and he still got the ball to 5 different people. So it's pretty good considering. That might not be great for everyone's fantasy numbers, but that's not why we're here. On the defensive side of the ball, Zimmer's going to want to clean up those offsides and neutral zone infractions. They did give them, I think, at least 3 first downs on 3rd and short because of those. But outside of it, I mean, it was just they were relentless. Blitzing Barr, especially early, seemed to be working. That's really exciting. Barr, historically, I think, rushes the passer on 22 to 25%, just under 25% of his downs, and a lot of the time that seems like, from the eye test, you're like, that seems like more than I thought, 1 and 4, because there hasn't been a ton of results because of the way that they do it. This was more Khalil Mack and just lining him up, either sneaking him in on the edge or just lining him up there and letting him kind of go balls to the wall. There was a lot of times where Ryan had time, but it was almost, he wasn't sacked, but it was almost like a coverage sack. Like, he just had nowhere to go, which was great. Now, you have to be a little concerned or a lot concerned about Xavier Rhodes. Despite the proclamations that he was healthy, he clearly looked gimpy in the preseason. There was that play where the receiver got behind him for that first down on that kind of wheel route, and he looked really gimpy. There was that big article in the Star Tribune this week about how he was focusing on his health and doing more yoga and Pilates and so on and so forth, because he had a myriad of issues last year. I think he named like 4 ankle. I'm just guessing, but I remember one was like his butt and one was his back, and I forget what the other two were. But I don't know what they have to do to. I mean, it's the first game, and he multiple times he had to come out of the game because of his injuries. So I'm not necessarily sure what those were. There's, a lot of people joke that he pretends to be injured when he gets beat, but those were on plays that he wasn't even beat. So that's a concern considering the depth or lack thereof that they have at the corner position, especially with Mackenzie Alexander going down with the what's appeared to be a forearm injury. So a little worried about that. The penalties, I'm just nitpicking a little bit. But man, was it a great game. The new punter even looked good. I mean, Dan Bailey made all the extra points that they asked him to make. The new punter, Britton Colquitt, had 5 punts for an average of 49.4, and 2 that ended up inside the 20. But I mean, everything was super encouraging. I'm just really happy. I mean, I'm really interested in what you guys think about the game. I think it's not having seen the Lions. I do definitely think that the Vikings are the team to beat in this division. There was a lot of talk by Spielman's brother in the booth about Julio Jones not playing in the preseason, and he must, obviously he's going to be rusty, even though he's Julio, and it's not a good time for him to be rusty, considering he's going against a team that historically has shut him down. He has yet to score a touchdown against these Vikings, Zimmer Vikings. I think my girlfriend just is breaking up with me. She's leaving. For 60 yards per game against the Vikings, and in this game he had 6 catches for 31 yards. He did score that late touchdown, though, the garbage time touchdown, which I don't think counts, if you ask me. Matt Ryan ended up with 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, some garbage time stuff there as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just, man, what a great way to start the season. They had to start out hot. They have the Packers in Lambeau next week. The reason I brought up Julio Jones not playing in the preseason was because that Aaron Rodgers also didn't play in the preseason for the Packers, which I understand that he's Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, it's really the first full, it's the first new coach that he's had. He's had McCarthy his entire career. They've made changes to the offense in Green Bay under McCarthy, but nothing as drastic as what they're doing with LaFleur. So he's rusty. He looked rusty against the Bears. I know the Bears have a great defense, but he was definitely not playing like you expect. He almost looked like a better version of what Cousins looked like against the Cardinals, just off by a hair. And he was clearly frustrated because of it. So it's a good time to be playing Green Bay in Green Bay, is my point. Trubisky, the Packers forced him to really stand in the pocket and try to beat them as more of a pocket passer. And clearly that's not his style. Whether or not the Vikings can do that is a different issue. Week 4, as their kryptonite has been running quarterbacks. So we'll see how that pans out. But you have, a Packers team that's not at full strength, even by the admission of their general manager. A lot of the questions he was being asked, he said, ask us week 8 or 9. That's when we'll know, because that's when we'll have everything down with all the changes they're making. A few question marks for them also on defense. They brought the 2 defensive ends, the Smiths, they brought in, did play great against the Bears and Trubisky. So there's that. They have the 2 rookies as well, the one from Michigan, and I forget where the other one is from. But I'm very encouraged, especially with all the nonsense happening in Oakland, that being week 3. So the Vikings really could get through this first quarter of the season with a 4-0 record and with 2 wins in the division. I think, they're both on the road too. So that, ending the season 2 with the Packers and Bears, I think those are both at home. Don't kill me if I'm wrong on the Bears one, but I'm pretty sure it is a home game or a road game. Let's check. This is some really intriguing content. Why won't you tell me? All right, let's see. Yeah, it is in Chicago, so I'm excited about that, especially with it not being extremely cold either there. At the end of September, so things are looking up, guys. I couldn't be happier with the way that this game transpired. I mean, clearly we didn't. This is just me saying generally. We didn't see a lot from Cousins or the passing game, but we didn't need to, and so I'm not gonna be mad about that. But it would have been fun to see. But either way, man. Um, I am so happy right now. I was so nervous all week, really all off season. You know, this team really needed to start strong. And last year, in the beginning of the season, it did feel like Cousins was, and Thielen especially, were really connected and on fire. You had that Rams game where Cousins was just dropping dimes left and right, keeping up with that high power at the time Rams offense, with a chance to kind of, I think, either tie it or pull ahead at the end, and then they fumbled. There was just the fact that the team really couldn't get on the same page all season. You had the offense playing well in the beginning, but the defense was bad. Then you had the defense step up, and the offense turned it into a 3-and-out machine. This game felt like a complete team. It felt like what Zimmer has to be happy with, even though I don't think he's ever been happy in his life. During the birth of his children, he probably was throwing like a review flag and turning bright red for the doctor. What took so long? So seeing this win be what Zimmer in a perfect world would want. It's not a flashy offense. A lot of running, successfully creating third and shorts. The defense dictating the game, turnovers, short fields, putting the Falcons in third and longs outside of those penalties that gave him first downs. I mean, it's everything that he wanted last year. The offensive line looked good, too great. It's all just very. I don't want to be too hyperbolic or too excited. But man, is it? I think my cat is a Falcons fan. I apologize for that. I mean, you can see our kitten; she's tiny. We're moving in to. Uh-oh. Ooh, you're so tough. Whoa. I understand that the pump block, the short field, all of that helped. They didn't have to show too much of what the offense can do. So I'm just saying that in the fact that it's like the offense was, 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, or passing touchdowns. We didn't see a ton of that. So yeah, I'm just saying that because while they were efficient, we didn't really see the full capability of it, I guess is my point. And so I don't want to get too excited, like I was saying, but man, if they can keep this up, oof, they're going to be a top 10 power rankings team. No one seems to care about that on our network except for me. I know it doesn't mean anything. I know it's hugely subjective, but it just shows to me how invisible Minnesota is and how the Vikings never really get any credit when they're doing well. And so seeing the Packers at number 1 on a few of them really bothered me when the Vikings were last week 20th and I think up to 15th. So they just look like a team that's a top team in the NFL. Is my point, and they should. I mean, the money they've put into it, the amount of successful high round picks they've had, especially on defense, the return of all those starters on defense, and from last season and the season before, bringing back the other starters on the defensive line. It's what you expect. So while I'm happy, I'm also just kind of relieved because this is what we want. This is what we thought. This is what we thought we'd had last year. It's just really, really, really awesome. So I am really excited to be talking about this game for this week. We're going to have a lot of content on the network on purpleterritoryradio.com as well. We'll have a bunch of different podcasts from all across Vikings land, not just our network, vikingsterritory.com, purpleptsd.com. We are rolling out a new partner, a new sponsor partner this week that you guys are going to freaking love. It's the exclusive memorabilia. provider and autograph session provider for the team. So they have some one-of-a-kind stuff. Actually, this Minnesota Miracle sign is actually, let me show it to you guys real quick. Keep in mind I'm moving, I'm not this big of a slob. It's signed by Diggs, and it's the moment of. You can buy this. Total Sports Entertainment. You'll see it on the site starting tomorrow. But we have a discount code for 30% off everything. So it's like jerseys, like Greenway's jersey, Jared Allen's jersey is laying over there, autographed. Just a lot of really cool stuff, and it's exclusive. And you will get, like I said, 30% discount on it through our site. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for all of our articles. That's not from them, but that's so cool. It's like a 3D stadium. Anyway, hopefully you guys can join us next week as well on our live chat, or check out purpleptsd.com, vikingsterritory.com for our new message board to come on and chat and get excited about the team. Following this show, we should have the new episode of About the Labor with Kirby Honor and Sean Borman. That hopefully will be live across all of our platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, LinkedIn, for some reason, Twitch. So that should be starting here in about 5 or 10 minutes. I might be on that, but if not, just check it out. And I will be back on Joe's either Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and on this KOGR Radio, The Scoop, on Wednesday afternoon. But it was a great game, everybody. Thanks for watching. As always, Green Bay really sucks. Hope to chat with you guys around the site this week, and I will be back doing shows all